What's going on, guys? Welcome to my second 2023 NHL mock draft. This, of course, is the post-lottery editions. Obviously, first overall pick here, Chicago Blackhawks take Connor Bedard. This is a no-brainer pick, generational prospect. I mean, look at his elite prospect page, 3.3 million views. There's a reason everyone's looking at this guy's stats because they're just incredible. I can see scouting rankings there, unanimous first overall pick. World Junior Gold back-to-back years. The dude put up 143 points in 57 games this year in the WHL. In the World Juniors, he had 23 points in 7 games, so over 3 points a game. He also averaged almost 3 points a game in the playoffs in the WHL, trying to will his team past that first round. This dude can shoot the puck amazingly. He's got great hands, pretty good speed. The one knock on him would be his size, but it's not even so much like his actual size as much as his height. Like, he's 5'10", but he's very, very sturdy. There's really no reason why Bedard shouldn't be a superstar at the next level in the NHL. So Blackhawks here make the no-brainer first overall pick. Now, next year, guys, number 2, we actually had the Anaheim Ducks. We're hoping to get Bedard, but they get a very, very nice consolation prize in Adam Fantilli. I would say Adam Fantilli would definitely be the first overall pick in both of the last 2 drafts. Maybe even 2020 with Alexis Lafreniere. He's like that good. I mean, the dude just won the Hobey Baker Award as a freshman. I think that's only been done a handful of times. Good size, 6'2" there, 187. I can see essentially the consensus number 2 overall pick. There's one scouting agency here that has him at number 3. The rest all I'm at number 2. And again, just a very good player. I would say he's kind of like a power forward. Really good speed, shoots the puck well, passes well. Bit of a grit to his game. Also very skilled. You guys ever seen like his Michigan goal? And of course, you know, he played for the University of Michigan. Almost averaged 2 points a game as a freshman. Again, kind of just unheard of. He also had 5 points in 7 games at the World Juniors, which for a draft-eligible prospect is usually pretty good. It's just when you're playing with Bedard who's doing unthinkable things, it doesn't look quite as good. But this guy is kind of everything you'd expect to be from a first overall pick, and the Ducks are going to get him at number 2. So again, a great pick there for the Ducks. Moving on now to Columbus Blue Jackets, guys. Bit of a tough decision for them, honestly, at number 3. Do they go Leo Carlsson? Do they go Matvei Michkov? I have them going Leo Carlsson here for a couple of reasons. The first, I feel like they need a centerman more than a winger. Carlsson, of course, can play center, can also play the wing. Second reason being, I feel like Columbus is trying to compete sooner rather than later. Obviously, just signed Gaudreau to that huge contract. They already got a lot of good young prospects kind of making their jump to the NHL. We saw Kent Johnson this year. Jarachek, Matachuk shouldn't be too far off. I feel like with Carlsson, he'll be in the NHL potentially next year, depending, of course, how his training camp goes, but definitely like within the next 1 to 2 years, whereas Michkov's at least 3 years out. So I don't really know if, you know, Columbus wants to wait for that. They already kind of have their sniper in line A. So they get Carlsson here, who again, like, it's not like he's that much worse than Michkov. Carlsson as well, putting up, you know, unheard of numbers in the SHL in his draft year. I feel like he's another guy, honestly, probably would have went first overall last year above Slavkovsky. Like, that's just how stacked this draft is. You look at him as well, very good size, 6'3", 194. Scouting rankings there, everyone pretty much has him at 3 or 4. So again, it's basically a toss-up between him and Michkov. Again, if you look at his numbers, SHL, 25 points, 44 games for a 17-year-old is like so good. Playoff-wise, 9 points in 13 playoff games. At the World Juniors, he was over a point per game. Again, I think it's pretty easy to say he would have been the first overall pick above Slavkovsky last year. So Columbus, even though they do fall down in the draft here, number 3, they still get an absolute stud. Now moving on here, guys, the San Jose Sharks. I feel like they make the perfect pick for their scenario, and that's taking Matvei Michkov here at 4. Unlike the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Sharks are for sure going to suck for at least a few more years, where Columbus could actually, you know, start to compete. So I feel like the Sharks are not worried at all about waiting for Michkov. Obviously, not only are they really bad right now, they've also got some big bloated contracts they're going to wait to get rid of before they can really start to compete. So we're talking, of course, Carlsson, even though he did have a Norris caliber year, it's still a big contract. Edward Vlasic, even like Couture and Hurdle, you know, have some big long-term money, and they're not getting any younger. So Michkov, comparables, Alex Ovechkin. I mean, when compared to the greatest NHL goal scorer of all time, you know he's going to be a stud. He's another guy, probably goes first overall last year, probably the year before that as well. Like, he's just that good. Again, every offensive tool you could want. So not only does he have a great shot, good playmaker. Similar to Bedard, though, not the biggest guy. You can see 5'10", 148. And I think, unlike Bedard, definitely not as sturdy because he's a lot lighter there. But again, he's a sniper. He's going to put the puck in the back of the net. I can see playing in the KHL this year, which is like, you know, true Russian league. 20 points, 27 games as a 17-year-old. Like, that's very, very impressive. The top 4 in this draft is honestly ridiculous. Probably the best top 4 we've seen since like 2015. So can't wait to see kind of how these guys actually turn out in the NHL. I should mention too, guys, just like Leo Carlsson, Michkov's rankings here are pretty much all 3 or 4. As I mentioned, Columbus really has the choice there between the two. And now next year, guys, moving on to number 5, Montreal Canadiens. A lot of them wanted Michkov. Personally, I don't see him making it to them, but still they get a very good pick here at number 5 with Will Smith. I think he's going to round out the consensus top 5. Centerman there, which they honestly could use. Rankings, mostly, 5 or 6, some 7 or 8. And right here you can see playing the United States under 18 team. He had 127 points in 60 games, so over 2 points a game. Also averaged over 2 points a game on the National Team Development Program. Is committed to Boston College, so I think he's going to be playing there at least for 1 year. So Montreal will have to wait a bit, but I don't really see them, competing anytime soon. Now, unlike Bedard, Fantilli, and Carlsson, he didn't play on the under 20 World Junior team. Did play on the under 18s though. 20 points in 7 games, so about 3 points a game. Kind of dominated there. So again, I think this guy is going to be another stud. Montreal get a very good pick. Now, I feel like this is where the draft really opens up, guys. At number 6 are the Arizona Coyotes. So many different directions they could go. Originally, I was thinking they'd probably go Zach Benson here, reunite him with Connor Geeky, but the more I thought about it, the more I looked at it, I feel like the Coyotes kind of go off the board here and take the first defenseman in this draft, and that's Axel Sandin-Pellikka. So I feel like this is definitely a bit high on him based on like his ranking. But when you look at the Coyotes draft board here, they actually have 2 picks inside the top 12, and there's really not that many defensemen available. So why not take the best defenseman you can and then just get whatever forward you can at number 12? I feel like it makes a lot more sense than taking a forward here and hoping, one of the 2 defensemen are still at 12, which they probably won't be. So Sandin-Pellikka here, very good skater, solid 2-way defenseman, good offensive game, 5'11", 181, not bad size. Ranking-wise, kind of all over the place. Highest there is Craig Button, number 5. Lowest, I think, is like 17, but most people have him around number 10. So again, the Coyotes having 2 picks in the top 12. I feel like they're reaching on a defenseman. And he actually played a bit in the SHL this year for Skelfetta, 5 points, 22 games. And he also played on their under 20 team, averaging over a point per game. And he also saw some under 20 World Junior time. Only put up a point there in 7 games, but again, for most, draft eligible prospects, that's what you'd expect. Again, best defenseman in the draft class, my opinion. I think most scouts' opinion. I feel like Arizona, makes a smart move here, taking him at 6. And now next year, guys, number 7, Philadelphia Flyers. They see Arizona do that. They get a little bit worried, and they take the next best defenseman, David Reinbacher. He's an Austrian defenseman with good size. You guys can see here, 6'2", 187. Scout rankings for him, kind of all over the board, anywhere from 8 to 35, so 7's probably a bit of a reach, but you look at that Flyers team, they got a pretty good group of young forwards there already, and obviously they have some really good players coming, like Carter Gauthier, as well as Tyson Forster, so for them, you look at their defense, and outside of Cam York, they really have no defensive prospects, plus their defense in general, definitely like the weak spot of that team, so I think they kind of reach here. They take David Reinbacher. They probably look at the rest of the forwards available. They feel like he makes the most sense for them. Playing the Swiss League this year, 22 points in 46 games. Playing against men, that's not too bad. I feel like it's a defenseman that John Tortorella would probably definitely love. So, honestly, number 7 pick here. I'm not sure if Flyers fans are going to like this pick, but honestly, I don't hate it. And now next year, guys, number 8 with the Washington Capitals. I can't believe they're picking number 8. I feel like this is the highest they've picked since 2013, I want to say it was, when they took Philip Forsberg, so literally a decade. And now, obviously, they still have Alex Ovechkin, who's trying to get that goal record, which means they're obviously still trying to compete. So they pick a player that can help them immediately, and that's Dalibor Dvorsky. Outside of the players available, definitely the most NHL ready. I don't know if his ceiling's as high as some of the other guys, but for sure, should be an NHL player. You look at his size there, 6'1", 200 pounds. Can play center, can play wing. Rankings-wise, anywhere there from like 8 to 17, but most people have him in that 8, 9, 10 range. Again, he's already playing in a men's league in Sweden. AIK there, 14 points in 38 games. Also played on under 20 World Junior team for Slovakia, 3 points in 5 games. So I feel like, and he's supposed to be one of the better 2-way players in the draft. So I feel like he's not going to cost you defensively. Honestly, there's a good chance he could make that Washington Capitals lineup this coming season. Obviously, it'll depend on how everything shakes out. But the fact he could jump into their lineup right away is why I had the Capitals taking him at number 8. And on next year, guys, number 9, we got my Detroit Red Wings, and Steve Yzerman runs to the podium as Zachary Benson falls into his lap. Zach Benson's a guy that could go as high as 6, I think. So getting him at 9 is very good value. Obviously, playing on that stacked Winnipeg Ice team with Connor Geeky, Matthew Savoy, Carson Lambos. I think they also got Zach Ostapchuk. So the team's pretty stacked. He's a big reason why. I mean, look at his rankings here. Anywhere from, 5 to 9, basically. So, again, if he slips a bit to number 9, I think that's a great pick. A little bit undersized there, 5'10", only 159. But I think he's got one of the highest hockey IQs in this draft. A very good playmaker. He's also supposed to be one of the best skaters in this draft class. So, again, I think this is a great pick here for the Red Wings. I'm not sure what some of you are saying, well, if he's so good, why is he dropping? Well, honestly, it's just his size. I feel like, these players that are a bit undersized seem to always drop in the drafts. You look back to Cole Caulfield, Alex DeBrincat, like every single time there's a guy that should be going higher, he always drops because of size, because some GMs, some scouts, whatever combination, just don't want him, and usually they pay for it because those guys end up being steals. So Benson here, you can see 98 points, 60 games in his draft year for the Winnipeg Ice. I mean, very, very impressive. Over a point per game in the playoffs. Same thing last year. Now, he is playing on a stacked team, which probably, boosts his numbers up a little bit, but as a Red Wings fan, I would be loving this pick. And now next, you guys, number 10, the St. Louis Blues taking Colby Barlow. I feel like he's the kind of player most NHL GMs just salivate over. The dude's 6'1", 187. I think he's actually heavier than that. So, like, he is a super sturdy, big boy, especially for being 18. The dude, looks like a full-grown man. I watched him, I think, once or twice this year playing against the Spits. Very strong in the puck. I think he scored a hat trick on us. And speaking of, I think he was second in goals in the OHL. 46 goals this draft year there, 79 points. Even in the playoffs, he had 3 goals in 4 games, no assists. So, big body, scores goals. That's what NHL GMs look for, and I feel like the St. Louis Blues are going to love him. They lost a guy kind of similar in Ryan O'Reilly, although O'Reilly's definitely got a better two-way game. I think, too, they can definitely build around Barlow, who is a scorer, playing with Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou. Could be a perfect combo in the future. And then looking at his rankings here, guys, anywhere from, 8 to 32. Most people have him, though, around that, 10 to 15 mark. So I think at 10, it makes a lot of sense. I feel like he's a guy that's definitely not going to fall too far down the draft board. And now next up, guys, number 11, the Vancouver Canucks taking the local boy, Andrew Crystal. So Canucks fans are really hoping to take the local boy and Connor Bedard. They get the next best one, Andrew Crystal. You guys can see there, place of birth, Vancouver, BC. I think technically he was actually born in Burnaby, but it's fine. Another smaller player, kind of like Zachary Benson, 5'10", 165, but such a good player. Very, very offensively skilled. Rankings-wise for him, anywhere from 6 to 35. So again, all over the board, but most people have him in that top 15. This year on Kelowna, you can see 95 points, 54 games his draft year. Didn't have as strong a playoff, only 1 point there, but look at the regular season. You look at his under 18 numbers, about a point per game. Very skilled, again, can shoot, can make passes, solid skater. It just comes down to his size. I feel like Vancouver, if he's there, how do you not take him? The local kid, hopefully, make the fans like you again. And obviously, too, in my opinion, probably is the best player still available at this point. And now next up, guys, number 12, the Arizona Coyotes making their next pick of the draft. Obviously, already took Sandin Pellikka. They're looking for a forward. They're going to take the best one available, and that's definitely Ryan Leonard. Part of that U.S. National Team Development Program. Pretty good size, 5'11", 181. Rankings-wise, anywhere from 7 to, 14. So I think getting him at 12 is pretty good. Definitely don't see him falling much further than that. I really at his stats too, very impressive. 94 points in 57 games playing for the under 18s. He averaged almost a goal a game. Playing on the national junior team, 20 points there in 17 games. Under 18s, he averaged over 2 points a game. He's a guy can put up points, can score, good size, also pretty solid two-way game. So I feel like they add him to a forward prospect group of Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, Connor Geeky. I feel like the Coyotes are going to have a pretty bright future. Whether or not that's going to be in Arizona or Houston, I'm not sure, but still like that pick there for Arizona. And now next year, guys, we got the Buffalo Sabres picking number 13. I think this is actually the lowest they've picked in a while, at least for their first pick in the draft. Obviously, they're making some playoff noise throughout the year, ended up falling short. So I think they go for a guy that can help them soon, kind of like the Washington Capitals, and they take Edward Sala, the Czech winger there. Looks to be, a pretty good player. Should definitely go to top 15 in this draft. His size there is not bad, 6'1", 168, so definitely, could put on some muscle. In terms of his rankings, anywhere from 7 to 28. Most people, though, have him in that 9 to 12 range, so getting him at 13 is actually potentially a bit of a steal. Playing the Czech League this year, 14 points, 43 games. As a 17-year-old, that's not bad at all. At the under 20 World Juniors, averaged almost a point per game. Again, I feel like this guy, because he's already played against men, make that jump to the NHL relatively soon. And you look at the Buffalo Sabres, center depth, I think they're already pretty solid there. Tage Thompson, Dylan Cousins. On the wings, you add him with Jack Quinn, JJ Peterka. This could be a very, very deadly top 6 in the next couple years. As next pick here, guys, a bit of a wild card. Pittsburgh Penguins at number 14. This is the first time they missed the playoffs since Crosby's rookie season back in 2005, 2006. So what is that, 17 years ago? They have a new GM coming in. It's really tough to predict what they're going to do. Do you try and compete for a few more years before that core of Crosby, Malkin, Letang retires? Or do you kind of start stockpiling for the future, taking guys who aren't as NHL ready but could be good, down the road? Personally, I feel like they probably just go for the safe pick here, a guy that's been at the top of the draft class rankings for the last couple seasons, and that's Braden Yeager. I feel like he's a pick you can't really mess up. Now, he is a guy that some scouts have dropped in the rankings recently, but I feel like, a year ago, he was as high as, 6, 7 in the rankings, maybe even higher than that. So, still should be relatively safe pick here. You can see, rankings-wise, again, 7 to 25. So, getting him at 14 is pretty solid. Look at the WHL numbers for him. 78 points this year. 59 the year before. Had a solid playoff there, 16 points in 10 games. He's a sniper, puts the puck in the back of the net. He's also a centerman, decent two-way game. I feel like, is he ever going to play with Crosby? Maybe not. But again, with the Penguins finally having a top 15 pick, you really don't want to miss on it. So I feel like Yeager's the guy. And now next year, guys, number 15 with the Nashville Predators taking Oliver Moore. He's a player that's, pretty similar to Ryan Leonard. I would say he's a better skater for sure. Not quite as good a two-way game. Also a little bit smaller. Not quite as good a scorer, but is a better playmaker. I think, they played together this year. That's why I'm comparing the two on that, U.S. under-18 team, the national team junior team. Under-18s there, 9 points in 7 games, so not quite as impressive. 75 and 61 though, not terrible. Committed to the University of Minnesota. I feel like Nashville is definitely a team building for the future here. David Poile, of course, stepping down. Oliver Moore could be a big piece of that team in a few years' time. Rankings-wise, anywhere from like 6 to 16, or I guess one's got him at 20. But I feel like for the most part, this is where he should go. Again, very good skater, decent two-way game. I think Nashville pretty happy with this one. And then the final pick in the draft here, guys, number 16, the Calgary Flames. I think it's the same pick I had them making a couple months ago. Still the Calgary Flames here, taking Matthew Wood. Local boy from Lethbridge, Alberta, which is like just outside Calgary. Good size, 6'3", 190. Probably going to be a winger, could also play center. Rankings for him, kind of all over the place, anywhere from like 11 there to, I don't know, early 30s. So that's kind of the case once you start getting, deeper into the draft. The rankings start really changing. So 16 should be fine for him. Playing for the University of Connecticut this year, already in the NCAA, put up just under point per game as a freshman. Like, that is super impressive. Under 18s there, you can see almost 2 points per game. So I think Calgary is very happy with this pick. He's a guy I definitely could see playing the NHL pretty soon, as he already played 1 year for University of Connecticut. So maybe he's a guy that, end of next season, kind of like your Matthew Nyes, your Luke Hughes, is making the jump to the Calgary Flames if they are in that playoff position. So that's my updated post-lottery mock draft, guys. Hopefully enjoyed it. If you did, leave that thumbs up. Leave a comment. Let me know which player you want your team to take. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.